So one of the jobs I do first thing in the morning is feed the birds, as we've just seen. And birds do like a little bit of an adventure. So I've been hacking away this old mulberry tree, and if we can see, it's pretty rotten now. I think we cut this down a couple of years ago, but I've created these little crevices because the birds do love to get in here and find any seeds as a reward for their hard work. And the reason why I feed the birds is because not only is it nice to watch, but also they help me with my biodiversity here, which is very important for us. So I'm getting two benefits. They're helping me control any aphids, and also I get entertainment out of it. So it's a win-win. Now we're looking at this space here, and it's on the side of the new building that we've just had completed, and we're going to be building a greenhouse in here to grow more plants, and we're going to come back to that in just a second. But this is all going to be completely enclosed. I've got a lot of tidying up to do in here. In fact, I've got a lot of tidying up to do everywhere before we start the main structure, but we're just coming into the final design phase of it, and then we can start the build in the next couple of weeks, subject to price, of course. And just through there are the remains of some of the trees that we had cut down during the summer, which are these acacias. So they've been drying out, and then I've got to try and get them lifted around to the wood store that I've got, which we'll look at in just a second. Ready for next year. Talking of wood, this is another job I have to do every day. So let's have a look at that. Now, where we live, we don't have mains gas. So we have to heat our wood with a wood burner. So what we do is we have a delivery of wood, if I haven't got enough, and we stack it in here, the wood store. Now a few weeks ago, in fact back in October, this was full, and it came out 3 logs deep, if you like, and filled up to the ceiling, or up to that line there, and it come all the way around here. So now we're coming into March. It's come out to the end of February, and basically I'm using approximately 12 of these logs each day, and the majority of these guys is from a tree called a white beam. It's a very hard, very dense log. Let me see if I can get one down. There you go. That gives you an idea of the size of it. It's got a bit of weight to it. It's probably about 1.5 to 2 kilos in weight. Obviously we've got different sizes here, and I take 12 of these each day, and I bring them into the wood burning room, which is through here. Why have I got a gas bottle? We'll come to that in a second, because again we have no mains gas here, so my only form of heating is this wood burner, and it's important for us, and it's in what some of you might call a boot room or glory hole. There we got the dog. She likes to have a little bit of a snooze in there, which also serves as the cat's bed at night, obviously once it's been made up, because we don't want him charging around the house for night time. So I bring the wood in, sits in that basket there, and I keep this running at a temperature of just above 40 degrees Celsius, as you can see. It's also a great place for me to dry out my gloves while I've been working. And then round here, as I might have shown you before, we've got a water tank that also heats up, having gone through all the radiators through the house, and then that serves to feed the underfloor heating in the conservatory area. So, like I say, the bottom section is where all the ash is, and all we do is we open that up, look inside there, and then I will throw just a couple of these on there like so, close the door and just leave it. Now because that's got a lot of ash in the bottom, I don't clean it out completely. This has been burning since the middle of October, and like I say, we're in February now, so November, December, January, February, 4 months, and we've probably got another month to go before we stop using it because it'll be nice and warm by then. So that's how we crack on with that. And if you're wondering what that red tank is there, that's an expansion tank. So just in case the pressure gets too high, it can relieve into that area there. But we've never had an issue with that. And that's how it works. Nice and simple, but it requires a little bit of effort. It's part of the lifestyle of living in a place like this in southern Hungary. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's so cheap to live here. Well, is it? Well, as I go about doing my other jobs this morning, we're going to have a little bit of a chin wag about that, because it's not as rosy, excuse the pun as I show you my roses are going to climb up the wood store, as some people might think. So this area, like I say, wood burning room, pet room, whatever you want to call it, basket there full of food for the dog. And then we come into here and we've got a few things here. Obviously, because it's more of a utility room, so we've got a fridge freezer there, tumble dryer, washing machine, sink for outside stuff, and that's the heater that gives us our hot water, electric. So that's quite an expensive way of getting our hot water. Now we've got these cupboards, and this is some of the produce that we've been able to make from last year. So this was all full, and we're getting to it. And then on the bottom row there, these are all homemade tomato sauces. And if you look carefully, you can see there's an olive oil on the top of that, just to keep it sealed, if you like. And then we've got some more there. And all we do with that is we cook some pasta. It is homemade by one of our neighbours. It's absolutely amazing stuff. And pour it over the top. Now I've just seen something up the top there. Now this is funny. And let me show you. Ah, dear. Okay, so above there we've got various pickles. Some of them have been fermented in saltwater brine and some are in vinegar. And we've got some, I think they are pears. I'm not sure, I need to check with the lady of the house. Now I have a little bit of a trick, and what I do is both of us love chocolate. And I hide it. And I hid some the other week and I couldn't find it for ages and ages and ages. And there it is. I forgot I put it there. 85% cocoa. So it's a bit of a healthy version. Now I'm going to leave that there and surprise her when she comes home from her job. Come across to this one here. And again, we've got all kinds of things. Now I'm always looking at ways of changing up our food. So again, here we've got some more pickles. These are green tomatoes. We've got a couple of jars of chutney. I decided to buy a bag of lentil fusilli. There you go, that's what it says on there. From Tesco's, yeah, we do have Tesco's. And we've got some jams here. That's elderflower. Not quite sure what these are, and I know one at the back there's apricot. And we've got these guys here, which are from the damson tree, which is just outside. I think might have one that looks like raspberry. I'm not sure, but unfortunately, labelling here is not a strong point. Some honey. That is fermented beetroot. So we've got a bit of a mixed bag here of stuff that we can use. I've got some onions there. Then I grew these onions from seed last year. The ones on the bottom are from seed. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to treat them as sets and plant them to see what happens. And there we've got some walnuts. And these are the smaller onions that we've got left over from the harvest last year. So, you know, not too bad a go, really. I've even got a bottle of Gordon's gin there, look. And then we've got cat food. So, nothing too flash, but it serves a purpose. Now, those are the two must-have jobs I need to do every day. Once they're done, I can start on the jobs I need to do in our growing spaces. So at the moment here, I'm pruning back all the dead from this marjoram, no, thyme, beg your pardon, because it's that time of year. Now, I was out in the garden yesterday in the veggie patch thinking, oh, I can start prepping my vegetable beds. So we'll come to that in a second, but we've had some pretty cold weather here, and what I've found with that is that it's a very penetrating cold. It's not like I'm used to in the UK, where the moisture there is much higher. The air here is very dry. So if you're looking at coming out to an environment like this, you need to think about that, because wearing thermals in the winter is a must. I've learned that when I first came here, I didn't do that, or I wouldn't go out with a coat, and I got bloody cold. Didn't do myself any favours whatsoever. Now I don't make that same mistake. So you get the idea. I've got quite a bit more to do there. This is lemon balm, and I need to do exactly the same with that, and that's mint. So again, cut them all back down. Of course, I've got some garlic chives to do, and another bucket of mint. So it won't take me long, and all that waste goes into the wheelbarrow, and it goes around onto the compost. I think Rada wants to go back inside because it's nice and warm in there. Okay, so we're coming up into the back area of the house. Now look down there. I've got a lot of rubbish around here, so I'm not going to make any apologies about it. What you see is what you get. So this is a load of branches that we had to prune back when we were building the new summer kitchen. These are all the containers that I've kept back from the painters and decorators, and I just need to give them a rinse out, stack them up and put them in the shed, because they're invaluable going around the garden when you're weeding. 3 beds there that need a bit of attention. The first one is actually rocket. We'll have a quick look. These are the acacias I was talking to you about the other day on the tree pruning. And I've got a little bit more work to do, but let's come to this. So the rocket, it's survived all winter. It's looking a bit poorly for itself. And you might have remembered that during the summer, I threw a load of carrot seeds in there as well, just because I had them in my pocket. Now, I don't know if that's going to come back. I've got some chard there that looks like it's had it now, and some dodgy looking celeriac. So these all need clearing out. Now what I did do yesterday was I thought it'd be a good idea. So this is all the wood store. You can see this is all the acacia branches that I can lift, that I need to chop up during the summer for next year's wood supply. And there's some more there. And I've got these redundant sprinklers because I'm changing the irrigation system here, which I hope to install in the next few weeks. So we'll come back to that another time. But I've got quite a bit of wood. And the reason why I want this wood, obviously to keep warm, but I use the ash to spread on the garden. Now I came out into the garden yesterday, so here's the glory hole, the shed. There's always something that needs tidying up in here, but I bet your shed's probably the same. Got the mower, which also have a trailer for that. Leaf blowers, chainsaws, fuel, standard mower, pedestrian mower, and all sorts of bits and pieces that you don't tend to throw away at the back there. But this thing here is probably the tool I use the most in the garden. Now this section is a hoe, and this section with the prongs on it is a cultivator. So my idea was yesterday, just pop that there, was to get out into the beds and start prepping them by turning them over. But I thought with the temperature of 11 degrees Celsius, as our postman, would be easy. I was wrong. And this all looks a bit messy. That doesn't look too bad. All I've done is with the cultivator is just tickled it over across the top just to loosen up the soil. I'll come into this bed here, did the same there. I've got these leeks that have been in there all winter, so I need to get them out now. That is not too bad, but then this section here got a bit tough. Couldn't do anything with it. And in this one, if you look at the texture of that, doesn't look too good, does it? I've left these plants in the ground over winter because I like to leave the roots in just to keep feeding the soil and interact with all the microbes down below. But I came across a problem, and that is that just below the surface of all of these beds, in fact, if you look, there's a couple there that I haven't touched. They're rock solid, frozen solid, just below the surface. So there isn't much point in me doing very much until it warms up a bit. What I did do towards the end of the autumn was I planted some of these. These are field elms. And they are the same trees that are on the back of the new building, and they grow very, very quickly. So I popped in a soaker hose just there. But again, that's coming out because we've got the new irrigation coming in. Come to that in a minute. But all these, the ground, it may not appear it, but it's solid. And I can't do much out here at this moment. In fact, holding the camera, my fingers are getting a little bit chilly. Now, when we look at the watering system, I mentioned it the other day. So I've laid out this plastic hose that goes all the way along. 27 meters, well actually no, I've got 30 odd meters here. How much have I got? I've got 38 meters width and I only need 35. It's the width of this space, and then going up, back up there, I need about 25 meters. So the reason why this is laid out, it comes in a coil. I'm using the sun to make it more flexible, so I can actually use it. And it's being held down by these pieces of wood at the minute just to soften it up. When I first got it here, if I didn't use the wood, it just coiled back up again into a great big roll, so that's no good. And up there I've got the Starlink for the internet connection and the weather station. So there's the trailer that I use for the mower. And we're just walking around now to where we do the composting, if you haven't seen it before. The whole point about this is that it's just to try and show you that the way of living here, or this lifestyle for me, is completely different. Yeah, right, if I wanted to live in a flat in the town, I wouldn't be doing any of this, but I don't want to do that. I want to be doing this. And I like the idea of being able to produce my own fruit and veg in an organic way. Compost plays a massive part. And the fork is there. This is ready for me to throw onto the beds once they've thawed out a little bit. You might think, oh, what's that white, that light brown colour on it? That's actually wood ash from the wood burner. It's a great addition. And I don't throw anything away here. And then looking down the side of the house, there's that stack of wood. And I've got some smaller branches there to trim up or chip. I don't put wood chips into the compost or on the paths here, but I'm looking at the idea of drying out those wood chips and perhaps using them as an addition onto the fire next winter. It's an experiment that's worth trying out. And as with most houses here, building material leftovers have to go somewhere. Okay, so now we're looking back at the new build that's just been finished. Those lights are flashing in there. What's all that about? Well, let's get in there and have a look, because then you can begin to see what this is all about. Now, like I say, remember, we're having a greenhouse built. So what was that flashing light? Well, just over there, look, I've got my laptop and I've got some seeds germinating on the windowsill. And coming to the so-called summer kitchen area. And this flashing light is basically from this LED. If I position the camera in a particular way, can you see it starting? Oh, maybe it's not so bad. But basically, for some reason, that LED makes the camera flicker. But here, I've got some spring onions or green onions that I sowed the other week with some leeks. I've got some peppers there that have started to germinate. This is why I've got them under lights now, because I need to get the light on them when they're growing at this stage. I've got some brassicas here. Those are the chilies that I transplanted the other day. So looking quite nice, looking healthy, but it's nice and warm in here for them. What's that gas bottle for? Gas cooker. So there we are. That's a very brief walk around the wonderful area that we've got here in southern Hungary. Now, it's taken me just over 4 years to get to this particular point. I have said in the past when I spoke about the house when we bought it, that it takes 3 years for somebody to move into their new space and be comfortable with the way it is. You know, you move furniture around, you get used to this, when do the rubbish get collected, all that kind of malarkey. Moving to Hungary is a big change for most people, if not all of us. I'm lucky because my other half is Hungarian. So that helps me no end with official paperwork and all that kind of malarkey. But I'm getting better and better as time goes on. Having said that, trying to learn Hungarian is very difficult. To say good health in Hungarian, the best translation I can do is to say eggs in your shed, because the actual word is just, I just can't do it. Apparently there's a shorter version. You can just say see ya when you want to say cheers. So maybe I just do that. But even that is complicated when you greet somebody, because when you say hello to somebody here, you, as an individual, you can say see ya. If there's more than one person, apparently it's siastok. I mean, it abbreviates to hi. And when people say goodbye here, they go hello. So for me, it can be a little bit, you know, tricky to get used to. But I've got used to it now, not an issue. With regards to cost of properties and all that kind of stuff, yeah, the video I did at during the summer, where I said about how much it cost, property prices here have gone up, and the cost of living has definitely gone up. And I did a bit of a price comparison yesterday using Tesco's. You saw that bag of red lentil pasta, or fusilli, whatever it's called, in the store cupboard there, which I bought in the local Tesco's here in the town. So we do have them. And the price comparisons between a UK Tesco's and here, there isn't much in it, grocery shopping wise. And I think part of that is due to the fact that there's a lot of VAT put on food here, which you don't get in the UK. Those rates vary from 5% for your basics like milk and egg, that kind of thing. Some of it is 8%. And then on imported stuff, it can be 27%. Why do I grow my own fruit and vegetables here? I do it because I love it. I'm intrigued by it, and I've always done it. And now I've got the perfect opportunity to do so. I also like a challenge, and then crikey, this last summer that's gone by, there were temperatures of 42 degrees Celsius and no rainfall. How the bloody hell did I manage to get 532 kilos of produce out of the ground, which is 32 kilos more than I did the previous year? So understanding new gardening techniques and employing them that suit my environment, like no-dig, organic, making my own compost, increasing my biodiversity, looking at what goes on here, has helped me no end. So it's not a holiday to move to a place like this. It is challenging. As I've just said, we don't have mains gas here. I could if I wanted to live in the village, but I don't want to live next door to somebody who's got a dog that barks all day long. I'd rather have a dog like ours, who only barks when she wants attention, or there's somebody at the gate. So that's a personal choice. And the trade-off of not having a mains gas supply is I have to stock my wood. I have to stack it up. Sometimes I've got to chop it. Well, that's bloody good exercise, for me. So I don't have to spend money out on a gym. I know lots of people think that, oh, you can save a fortune. Okay, but what they're looking at is stuff like, my council tax here is 30 quid a year. UK, I know, is in excess of 1,800, 1,900 pounds for the same same place that I had there. Energy prices here are cheaper in a way, but there's an English saying, isn't there? Swings and roundabouts. What you gain on one thing, you might have to pay out on the other. For me, generally, overall, I think pretty good going. I love it here. I love the environment. I'm looking out the window because I can see 7 or 8 hares, not rabbits. They don't have rabbits in this country, but hares racing around, chasing each other because that's the time of the year. Coming into March, mad hares. And, you know, I can see deer running through. I've got all these birds out here. Oh, I'm feeding them, I'm looking after them, but I want them to help me in the garden and in the growing spaces. So, was this the right decision for me to do? Yeah, I think so. Has it cost me a lot of money? Relatively speaking, no. It's not been cheap, but I couldn't afford to do this back in the UK where we were based. I certainly wouldn't have been able to buy my own property at this kind of level, as I've already mentioned in the past. So yes, definitely worth it. As for getting out and about in the village, which is only a couple of kilometres away, not a problem. There's local shops here, pharmacy, petrol station, garage for me to have the car repaired if I need it to be. You don't have pubs here, not such a bad thing, but you can have your own beer and wine at home, and you get to recycle the cans afterwards. So, you know, you'd have to decide what you want to do. There are other challenges like the weather. It can get very hot here in the summer. And you might think, oh, I don't mind a little bit of heat. Yeah, after a couple of weeks holiday on the south of Spain, maybe. But, you know, 7, 8, 9 weeks of constant heat can take it out on you. So you've got to be careful of that. And if you don't like air conditioning, well, you're going to struggle. And then there's the mosquitoes. But then again, if you learn how to deal with these things and adapt, you can have a great time, as I am. Another good example of that is showing you that Starlink I had out the vegetable patch there earlier on. Now, I've got that because the internet connection I had here was absolutely awful. So instead of having a download speed of 28, 29 megabits per second, as I had before, throwing in Starlink, I'm on 300. So it helps me update this YouTube video straight to the channel. Talking of which, if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you did, or certainly give me a thumbs up. I'm just watching the birds popping in and out of the hole of that tree trunk that I showed you earlier on. That's absolutely brilliant. And they're really, really close in. They don't seem to mind me being in here behind the glass. Because it's double glazed as well, they probably can't hear me. And they're certainly not interested in looking at me when they want their food. So, we're coming out of winter. Spring arrives here very quickly. And I can see I've got a lot of jobs to do just on the general daily tasks that I follow. And then also the weekly tasks and the normal maintenance jobs that are around the house. You know, cutting back the herbs or pruning back the many lilacs that we've got here, learning how to propagate more hot lilacs to expand the garden forward. Because remember, this was just ploughed land 4 years ago when we got here, full of weed and not much else. So year by year, it gets better and better and changes constantly. And obviously with the addition to the other structures that we've done here, like this building here, the new shed out there that we did a couple of years ago, and later on in the next few weeks, the greenhouse, which will provide us not only with winter crops that we can have, you know, in the cold, dark months of December and January, but allows me another space where I can grow things on. Now, one thing I grew, or I planted the other day, was this. I never thought about growing my own ginger, but in this environment, I can do it. So once again, it's opened up another opportunity for me to learn and explore. Those 3 pots are just down below you now, underneath the desk. Now, I've got a chance here that they're going to grow. Now, if they grow and I follow those instructions, absolutely brilliant, amazing. I'll be so pleased. But if they don't, I'll just put the compost back in the compost heap. So I haven't lost. And if anything, I've learned. For me, this is all about learning and achieving my aim of being able to produce our own food as much as we can and being less reliant on supermarkets. Looking at the world at the moment in the news with all that's going on, it just reinforces the need for me to feel more secure with our own food production. If I can control what comes out of our ground and know that it's organic, then I'm happy. And that I can do here. But it's a choice that I've chosen to make. It may not suit you, but it does me. So follow me throughout the rest of the year as I finally get to prep my beds out there and plant some more stuff and get these seedlings out in the ground. Let's see if I can get above 532 kilos and learn from my mistakes. See you next time.